Welcome to The Impossible, where we empower others to face the impossible, inspire them to be impossible, and motivate them to do the impossible. And this week, we are back with a special Arnold Classic Q&A episode. If you guys are into lifting, as I hope most of you are, you know about the infamous or famous Arnold Classic. And it is an incredible event where lifters from all different backgrounds, whether it's powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, even all the way to the Highland Games and medieval sword fighting. We all gather together, and there's vendors and there's showcases. There's all sorts of incredible events, but it's a great networking opportunity. It's a great exploration opportunity to find new products, new events, new people to consult with and train with and discuss all things in the nature of lifting and growing yourself, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally as well, which is something we promote so heavily on this show. So we haven't done one of these in a while, but as a special thank you to you guys this week, we wanted to come on and do a Q&A to help get some of your guys' questions and see some of your thoughts about the directions of where you want to see the Impossible podcast heading for the future. We've been honored to bring on some truly incredible guests in this space here recently. I know I've learned a ton from them. I know you guys have learned a ton from them, and they've really given us a whole new insight onto where we can go, where we can take our own performance, and not just our performance physically speaking, but how we can foster and develop a champion's mentality, how we can work to grow ourselves every single day into that impossible version of ourselves, the person who can and will conquer those challenges we set for ourselves. So, without further ado, let's dive into the questions. These are in no specific order, although there are some I'm particularly excited for, some I'm a little bit nervous for, and some you guys will definitely be able to guess, I think, who is asking. The first one, in keeping with the Arnold spirit, is what are you most excited to see at the Arnold Festival? And I'll be honest, what I'm most excited to see is a sea of people wearing this shirt that I'm wearing right now. I'll stretch it out so you guys can see everything. It is the first official collaboration shirt between Monsters Bent Barbell, the amazing home and gym where Austin and I and so many of our other guests train, and Impossible Performance, our company. We have partnered this year to bring, with USPC, the United States Powerlifting Coalition, to bring the very first ever para-only meet. It'll be happening in August of this year, and it'll be in Parkersburg, West Virginia. We're looking to bring about 30 to 40 lifters, all of them para-athletes, all of them competing at the highest level against the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis in powerlifting. So there will be amputees, there will be people who have multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, ataxia, dwarfism, all sorts of different challenges. Notice I don't say disabilities, I don't say illnesses, I call them challenges because that's what they are. And that's what we overcome on a daily basis, and it makes us stronger and more mentally fit, more spiritually fit, more emotionally fit. And all of these athletes will be coming together to face these challenges on the platform together, and it's going to be a spectacle, I think, like maybe the world of powerlifting has never seen. So in order to help promote this event, Clayton Workman worked really hard to design these shirts, and they turned out incredible. All you guys going to the Arnold this weekend, look for these orange shirts and pick yourself up one as well, because all proceeds from these shirts are going to help fund athletes in getting to this meet and allowing them the opportunity to come out and perform. There's a QR code on one sleeve that you guys can scan. It'll take you to all the information you need to know about the para powerlifting meet we're hosting this summer, and we'll be handing out cards, more information, anything you guys want to know about it. Find somebody in one of these shirts, because I promise you they'll be everywhere. Ask them about it and see how you can get involved, whether you're an athlete, a sponsor, or you just want to help out in any way, shape, or form. We would love to have you as a part of it. So that is what I'm most excited about this year at the Arnold. It's not the the potential 500 kilogram deadlift. It's not even all of the free hundreds of milligrams of caffeine I'll be ingesting. This year, it's seeing a community come together in a way that has never been seen before in the powerlifting community to help raise up, support, and empower para-athletes. So check out these shirts, get yourself one, and wear it at the Arnold this weekend. We'll see you guys there. Next is, and this is one that has come up actually a lot on social media, so I'm glad somebody asked it, because it's really not something I've delved too deeply into. And I'm glad that somebody actually asked this, because it's really something I'm overdue in addressing. It's, how do you lift in a prosthetic? How is it different, and does it cause pain? So I'll break this down into 3 parts, reverse order. Does it cause pain? Absolutely. Anybody who's ever worn a prosthetic for any amount of time will tell you that prosthetics cause pain. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not something that shouldn't happen, though, because prosthetics are incredible devices. Sometimes I'll sit here and think, and I just realize, like, if I didn't have this $30,000 piece of Kevlar, titanium, and carbon fiber, I would not be able to do 90% of the things I do in a daily life. This one single tool empowers me to do all of that. And I try to never take that for granted, because there's a lot of people who don't have access to prosthetics, and there's even more people who don't have access to good quality, well-fitting prosthetics. I have been fortunate to work with a few different teams in getting just that serves me well. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't come with hardship. I mean, even with real normal feet, if you are on them all day doing things you're not used to doing, your feet can hurt. It's no different with a prosthetic, except that the intensity is dialed up much higher. There's specific instances that cause specific types of pain, but really what I'll just leave it at is this prosthetic is meant to hold no more than 300 pounds. That includes my body weight, which is currently around 280 pounds. So when I put 400, 500 pounds on my back, that's adding on top of that limit. Now, those limits are designed for mobile, striking, all sorts of different dynamic work on the foot. It's much different when you have just a static hold movement. And so my prosthetists have worked with me to make sure we have something that's safe and effective and able to tolerate the weight that I'm putting on it. But really, what I'm doing, what I'm chasing, is not done by over 99% of amputees. And it's not because they can't do it or they won't do it. It's really, I think, mostly because they don't know that it's something they have capability of, they have the potential for. And so that's why it's so important for me to help promote events like this USPC Para Meet in partnership with Monsters Bent Barbell and USPC, because it shows amputees and all para athletes the potential they have within themselves, which, if you guys have watched this show before, you know that potential is the word we focus on beyond all others, because we know within everyone it is so much greater than they would ever allow themselves to believe. So yes, it causes pain, but pain is something you face as a lifter. Not just physical pain, but mental, emotional, spiritual pain. It's something that deeply challenges you if you're chasing the sport at a high enough level. It is always something you'll face. So what we have to do on a daily basis is learn to meet that pain, to welcome that pain, to embrace that pain as part of the process of growth and becoming stronger and building a greater spirit. And when it comes, you feel it, you work through it, you lift with it, and you come out stronger the other side. The dynamics of lifting in a prosthetic is something that has been a work in progress for 8 years now. Because again, most people are not lifting in prosthetics at all, let alone the types of weights that I'm chasing. There are definitely a number of incredibly strong and courageous and awesome amputees out there. I can't speak highly enough of them because they've inspired so much of everything I've been able to chase. There are a number of amputee powerlifters out there that are doing exactly what I'm doing, and we're all kind of figuring it out together. And what's amazing to me is all of the unique styles. I know another guy, Ernesto is his name. I think he's based out of somewhere south, like Atlanta, or maybe even into Florida. I can't quite remember. But I've seen him squat, I think like 430 in competition, which is amazing because I think he competes at like 181, which is huge. That's really an incredible feat. But he, unlike me, I squat in platform shoes because when I come down and try to hit depth, I can't bend the ankle of the prosthetic, so the heel comes off the ground if I don't find some way to kind of push that prosthetic a little bit forward to allow my knee to track, quote unquote, as best as it possibly can. And so platforms are what worked great for me to allow me to stay stable, to stay back on my heel, to not be up on the toe, and to allow me to reach depth. Ernesto squats in the same deadlift slippers he uses to deadlift in. And so he's totally flat-footed, yet he still comes down, still stays flat-footed, and still hits depth. Honestly, a lot better than I do. And so it's just amazing how, even though a prosthetic totally changes the dynamic of the lift, what doesn't change is the fact that each lifter is still entirely unique, and it's still something we all have to kind of figure out for ourselves. But that is the biggest challenge, I think, is the squat, beyond even just the deadlift and the bench press. The prosthetic causes challenges on all three, but definitely on the squat, it is the greatest challenge, not just from being able to support the weight and manage, the pain and the pressure and everything that comes with it, but being able to move the weight, being able to track your knees when you don't have an ankle, having to twist the bar as you come down, shift your hips to your dominant side to allow yourself to use the most strength and leverage at the bottom. All sorts of things that come up in the world of being an amputee that break a lot of the rules of powerlifting, yet it's things we have to do to be able to adapt and find our greatest potential on the platform. So that's kind of what it's like squatting in a prosthetic, some of the challenges you have to face. How do I lift weights in a prosthetic? Honestly, I think as with any challenge, especially any para or adaptive challenge, the way you do it is with your mental strength, your spiritual fortitude, and your emotional passion that you've built for what you're chasing. Because it's a physical limitation. It's a massive physical limitation. Yet you've heard us say before on this show that limitations do not exist, except for the ones you allow, the ones you choose. And while I have a physical limitation, what it has built mentally, spiritually, and emotionally is so much greater that it actually has become an advantage. Having a prosthetic has forced me to adapt to every situation in life. Getting out of bed, getting in and out of the shower, standing at work, walking, playing with my daughter, getting up and down from the floor. So many simple, easy, mundane things that you normally wouldn't have to think twice about. I've had to adapt, overcome, build strength in every single area. So that's been the default mode for my life for over 10 years now. And that has built within it a great amount of mental, spiritual, and emotional strength that has allowed me to take on challenges like running marathons, like trying to break records in powerlifting on a prosthetic. And so when people approach me and say like, man, it's so incredible what you do. Like, you can lift this much weight in a prosthetic. I can't imagine what you would do with two legs. And while I definitely appreciate the notion and the gesture, I always remind myself that I wouldn't be able to lift half the weight with 2 legs that I do with one, because the spiritual, emotional, mental fortitude would be nowhere near the same. In this sense, it's become an advantage for me, and one I'm actually thankful I get to face every single day. So hopefully we'll have to bring on some more paralifters and discuss more about lifting in a prosthetic and everything that it brings, not just from a physical perspective, but every other perspective. Because it's a wild part of the journey that I don't often give enough credence or credit or thought to. So I'm glad you guys asked that question. I really appreciate it. Outside of that, what are 3 things that excite you to wake up for? And I'm going to combine this with the next question, which is kind of fun, but it says, what is your self-care routine in the morning? You know, these days there's almost every mental strength influencer, I guess if you could call them, the guys you see on Instagram. I love them just as much as you do. The Andy Elliott's, the David Goggins, the Wes Watsons, the Jocko Willings, all those kind of guys. I love them. Most of what I've learned has come from them. Most of what I've been able to build within myself has come from them. And there's a lot of foundation in our message that has come from them. Yet, they all kind of share the similar message of wake up, jump out of bed, and attack your day. And it doesn't matter if you've slept 2 hours or 3 hours, you get up at that time and you go out and attack the day. And it doesn't matter what you're facing, you have the discipline to get up and go out and attack the day. And I really love that sentiment, and I love that they can promote that to people, and I love that there's so many people out there who that really fires them up and activates them and gives them the power to be able to get up and attack their day and be infinitely more effective than they otherwise would have been. And while I certainly have days and I have times where I'm able to attack with that kind of vigor, my mornings generally are not that way. And it's got nothing to do with a lack of willpower, a lack of discipline, or a lack of strength. But for many years now, as large consequence to the just crushing chemotherapy I received, as well as my time on ECMO and in a coma and being hooked up to 3 different IV poles with all sorts of drugs being pumped into me. There's a lot of mornings. In fact, most mornings I wake up in a pretty excruciating amount of pain. And I've learned to make peace with it. Some days are better than others. Some days are great. Some days are not great. And while I'm constantly working and investing in and trying to maximize my health in every area possible, just as with my prosthetic, there's a lot of physical limitations that come from what my body has been forced to endure. And there's still, all of my doctors from back then still today don't even understand how I'm alive, let alone doing some of the things I'm doing. So while, yes, there are physical limitations present, I would say this is another scenario where the mental, spiritual, and emotional fortitude it's allowed me to build has become so much stronger. But I want to highlight what my mornings are like for you guys, because I think there's so much on social media, so much on the internet of this, like, I wake up and I attack every morning without fail. And if people can do that, the people who can do that, I have nothing but admiration and respect for you. And I hope to be able to build that same level of consistency and power in my own life. But to be completely honest with you guys and to offer a little bit of a more nuanced and contrasting viewpoint, my mornings are generally filled with pain. I wake up in a massive amount of muscular pain. It's not because of powerlifting training. It's not because I push myself too hard. It's not because of any of these things, because in the times I take weeks off, in the times before I was ever a powerlifter, I struggled and battled with the exact same things. It's just something that my body has to face from everything it's had to experience. And when I open my eyes in the morning, there's a lot of fog that I have to work through. There's sometimes some pretty freaking traumatic dreams I have to work through. There's a lot of physical pain. Some mornings it takes every ounce of my willpower just to be able to sit up out of bed. And then if you know me more personally, you'll have heard me talk about having to spend multiple hours just kind of becoming a human again, as I like to describe it. I have to stretch out my body. I have to move my joints. I have to get something to eat. I have to crack a Kenetik. And I have to sometimes rely on caffeine. And I have to do all these things to help kind of get my body moving, get back to a functional state. And while that's not the glamorous social media influencer TV kind of motif that comes out these days, it's the truth and it's the reality behind my life. And it's the truth and it's the reality behind so many people's lives. And I'm sure there's a lot of you who can relate. But here's the thing about that. I don't think it matters so much when you wake up. I don't think it matters so much how powerfully you attack your morning. I don't think it matters so much if you're sacrificing sleep to chase goals. I think what matters is that you get up in the morning and you get to work. You have passion and purpose in life. You have something to chase, something to fulfill, somebody to serve. That's what matters. However it has to look for you, whether you wake up feeling amazing, or you wake up in pain, or you wake up not even wanting to move. Fighting against that challenge is what matters. And having enough passion and purpose in your life to move forward in spite of that challenge. Even if you needed a couple extra hours of sleep to do so, even if it causes you great pain to do so, and even if it's the very last thing you want to do. You get up and you face the impossible. And in doing so, you become impossible yourself. That's what I admire. That's what I respect. And that's what I hope to help instill and build in everyone who is a fan and follower and listener of this show, because that's what matters. That's what's going to move you forward in life. That's what's going to allow you to have the consistency to chase the goals you've built for yourself. It's what's going to allow you to not just face those challenges in the morning, but face the challenges that come up throughout the entire rest of your day. If you can wake up immediately facing challenge, yet still have enough passion and purpose to fight through it, there's nothing else you can't face the rest of your day. So for all of you out there who don't always have those glorious mornings, I know what that's like. Austin knows what that's like. So many of our team members know exactly what that's like. It's okay to be beaten. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to feel like you have nothing to give. What matters is that you continue to give anyway. You continue to build that impossible version of yourself, and you wake up every morning to pursue that impossible. So, that's what I would say excites me to wake up in the morning. Having something to achieve, having something to chase, and most especially, having somebody to serve. And my self-care routine for the morning is fighting through pain. That's what it is. So these next two are a little bit lighter topic and ones that I'm glad you guys asked, because I think it's always good to, Austin and I dive into so much of the intensity of our lives and where we pull the most insight and information and growth and passion and purpose and all of these things. But at the same time, I promise you we're still normal people. And some days we feel it more regularly and harder than we'd like. But we're normal people with normal lives, normal aspirations, and normal, well, maybe not normal, but dreams and passions accessible to everyone. So the next question, and I think you guys will know where this one comes from, our favorite cheesecake loving friend. What is your favorite dessert and why? And I've been like, of all of these questions, so many of these I'm like, I just know the answer. I feel the answer in my heart and my soul. This is one I struggled with, I'll be honest. So I would have to say, of all the wonderful, great, and amazing desserts out there that I love, from a powerlifter's favorite of the watermelon Sour Patch Kids to probably some of the most tried and true stuff that Austin has showed me in the world of cheesecakes. My favorite dessert would have to be a good, well-made traditional carrot cake. And it's something my grandma used to make, homemade from scratch, sourcing all of the ingredients very particularly, and something that I had a lot as a kid growing up, and it was always like one of the most exciting times because we never really got anything quite like that anywhere else. Yet there was a moment at a restaurant that Austin and I went to, it's been a couple years back now, where I don't often order the carrot cake because they almost never stack up to the memory of my grandma's, but this time I did, and this restaurant delivered in probably the most comparable fashion to hers that I've had since she passed away. And just being able to enjoy that with Austin after an incredible steak dinner, it really brought me back to that time, and it helped me realize just that, there's some things just worth sitting back and allowing yourself to enjoy and remember and experience in life. And that was definitely one of those moments. And I'll always be thankful to my grandma for those moments and to my brother Austin for helping, at least in part, relive one of those moments with me. And the very final question we have for today, who I know you guys, well, probably anybody in the squat crew and most people at Monsters Bent Barbell will be able to guess this answer as well, or guess who asked the question, probably guess the answer. is, who is the person that you, and I'm going to change the phrasing of the question a little bit. Who is the person that most heavily influences you by having behind you during the squat? So for anybody who's not a lifter, and for anybody who's not a power lifter, the person who you have behind you in the squat is the person who's not just spotting you. He's not just there to catch the weight and assist if something fails. Especially in the case of a para-athlete, he's there to help save my life. And he's there to remind me why I'm there. He's there to give me spiritual and mental and emotional strength throughout the entire process of the lift. The person who's behind you is an incredibly crucial part of the process of being able to face this impossible for me. And there's many people that serve this role. As a brother of mine, somebody who gives me immeasurable strength as I face the fear that I face of every single rep on the squat. And there's so many people, from Clayton to Paul to sometimes Austin and Pete and Tab and Matt James, and so many people that I'm sure I haven't even listed. But there's one individual who, when he's behind me, brings me a level of confidence, brings me a level of strength, and brings me a level of purpose and meaning to the lift that I don't know I've quite felt with anyone else. And that's Wade Smith, who's been on the show multiple times before. You guys have seen some of his incredible accomplishments at a pretty young age, and he's got so many years of incredible feats of lifting ahead of him. And for anybody who's ever lifted with Wade before, I think you kind of know what I'm talking about. He brings back this kind of old school mentality to powerlifting. He's willing to push himself much farther than many would, and probably a lot of people would say is even good for you, but he's always going out to find a new level of potential within himself. And even at the point of where he is in life, he already has so many impossible goals mapped out for himself that he's 100% ready to chase with a dedicated commitment every single day that you just don't see in a lot of people anymore. But as I talked about on Curtis's episode, Wade holds a very special place in my heart and in my training, because he's not just somebody that I trust fully with my life as I'm attempting these impossible feats, because I'm so blessed and so fortunate to have so many people that I can say I trust with that responsibility. Wade is somebody who helps bring out a much greater part of myself. And it's not just because he motivates and inspires me and drives me, because he does all of those things, and so many other people at Monsters Bent Barbell do those things. But Wade, he kind of reminds me of a younger version of myself. But I see him not as a younger version of myself that I was. I see him as what I could have been if back then I had been on the same path that I'm on now. This is what I could have been. This is the kind of potential I could have been chasing. These are the kind of things I could have been doing, and these are the people I could have been building up and motivating and inspiring around me, yet I was at that time doing absolutely none of those things. But Wade is. And because of that, I have a very unique level of admiration and deep respect for him. And I also feel a massive sense of responsibility to him. Not necessarily to make sure he stays on the path that he is on now, or not even to necessarily make sure that he achieves everything he wants to achieve in life, because I know he's going to do those things. He doesn't need my help in that. But what I feel the responsibility to is to show him, if I can come from everything I've come from and still be able to do all the things that I can do, if I can face these challenges and still come out and perform and succeed and create this impossible version of myself despite all of these challenges, all of these circumstances, then you have something so much greater ahead. And I think about that when he's behind me and he's firing me up and leaving handprints on my back. I think about that. And it helps remind me that everything I'm doing, everything I'm chasing, every rep, every speech, every podcast episode, every social media post, it is all so much greater than myself. And Austin would agree that it's so much greater than him. We know that it's so much greater than anything we can accomplish alone. Because it's about you guys. It's about everyone who witnesses our performance, who hears our speeches, who watches and listens to the podcast episodes. It's about each and every one of you. It's about what you guys can build in your own lives. And even more importantly, what you can help those around you build. Because while Austin and I have been blessed and so fortunate to have an incredible team of individuals around us to help us accomplish so many impossible tasks, we know that this is a potential that exists within every single person. This is something that we all have access to within ourselves. And if we can achieve our mission and our vision for everything we're striving to build at Impossible Performance, then we will be able to change the world. And you guys are the ones who help us do that. By going out and supporting paralifters at the biggest lifting event in the world, by waking up every morning, despite the pain, despite the challenge, despite everything else, waking up with passion and purpose for your life and going out and finding somebody to serve, from enjoying sometimes the smallest, simplest, sweetest moments in life. All the way to supporting your brothers and your sisters and everyone around you. Everyone you see that potential in, that impossible level of potential, helping to build them up, helping to grow them, helping to strengthen them at the same time, doing the same for yourself so that you can serve even more people in an even greater way. That's why I like having Wade behind me when I go to squat. Because I know that no matter what happens to me, what we're doing here, what we're building here, will live on so much longer after we're gone. And so many others will do so much more, and so many more incredible, impossible feats in so many different areas that they pursue with passion. And all of that starts with each and every one of you. Because at Impossible Performance, we are striving to build a global culture of strength, fostering a spirit of growth in constant pursuit of the impossible. Thank you for listening, and as always, be impossible. We hope to catch you guys at the Arnold this weekend, and can't wait to see everything you're chasing in life, because it builds us up and makes us strive for even greater in our own.